Time for another edition of the Live from the Heartland show. I welcome all you friends, your neighbors, your brothers and sisters, neighbors, people everywhere in the world. This is Michael James. I'll be your host this morning. And this is number 103 during the time of the pandemic when we have been out of the WLUW Loyola University Station studios downtown. We've been doing this at home. Again, this is number 103. We're recording it on Friday, May 27th for the week of May 28th. A little news on the show. We are now on 3 times a week, both on air and streamed on WLUW.org or 88.7 if you're real local. And of course, it's available at youtube.com/Heartland Media, on Spotify and Google Podcasts, and we're on CAN TV. Today, I'm really happy that we're going to have a couple of friends who are doing really great work. We're going to bring on Michael Harrington. He is the co-chair of Network 49 here in the 49th Ward, and we're going to talk about activity around guns and police. We're going to then bring on our old friend, Omar Lopez, who has been involved over the years with the Young Lords organization. There's a new version of the Young Lords, and there's a passing of the torch and an honoring of the founder, Cha-Cha Jimenez. So we're going to hear what's up with all of that. And then our own producer, Lynn Orman, is going to come on and give us a little bit of music news. The big tragedy around the world, certainly in this country, I mean, around the world, there's the war in Ukraine, there's a lot of things, but in the United States, we've had another senseless gun shooting. There have been a lot of them. Some people have been posting long lists of more than one person killed in schools. It's unbelievable how many have happened. So we're going to be talking about that. Let me just say that Beto O'Rourke, who was a guest on our show a few months back, he's running for governor of Texas. He challenged Governor Abbott at a press conference yesterday. They walked him out, but he did get to point out a few things. He basically said, you want a solution to gun stuff? Stop selling AR-15s in the state of Texas. You want a solution? Have universal background checks. We don't have them. You want a solution? Red flag laws or extreme risk protection orders, which stop a shooting before it happens. You want a solution? Safe storage laws. These are 4 solutions that have been brought up by the people of Texas. Each one of them has broad support. But the Texas legislature apparently has thought differently. They've passed some really negative laws. And on that front, there is a bill in the House, in the United States House of Representatives, that has gone to the Senate calling for background checks, and 50 Republicans have rejected that. On a positive note, there are some senators from both parties who apparently are meeting and talking about ways that they can deal with the gun crisis that is more evident in our lives every day. Let me see. On a kind of an interesting note, Nancy Pelosi was not given communion by the powers in the Catholic Church. The Archbishop, I would believe, I don't know his name, in San Francisco. And she basically, and that was over her support of abortion rights. And she came back and called them hypocritical because of their lack of attention to the death penalty and caring of people after they're born. We like Nancy Pelosi on a lot of fronts, and we like that she stood up to the church on this case. Let's see. One other thing on the on guns. The owners of Daniel Defense, the manufacturer of the rifle apparently used in the massacre of 21 people at the elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, are deep-pocketed. That means they're really rich. Republican donors giving to candidates and committees at the federal and state level aligned against limits on access to assault rifles and other semi-automatic weapons. On the labor front, construction workers organized by the Laborers International Union of North America are on strike against the Purple Line, not in Chicago, but the public transportation project in Maryland. These workers complained that the contractor for the project backed off a commitment to hire a union and pay the agreed upon wages and benefits. As many of you who are regular listeners or viewers of the show know, we do report on organizing efforts, and they continue among Amazon, among Starbucks workers. It's spreading all around the country. And we'll have more on that on a weekly basis. Let's look around the world a little bit and see what's going on. In Colombia, a leftist, a former guerrilla fighter, is poised to win the presidency. That was reported by the New York Times a couple of days ago. On May 16th, the Biden administration announced new measures toward Cuba, taking an important step toward restoring the policies of engagement and reversing some Trump-era policies. Some of these changes include reinstating the Cuba Family Reunification Program. It's actually called the Cuba Family Reunification Parole Program. Not sure what that means. Lifting a 1,000 quarter cap on family remittances. You know, many Cubans in this country, in the United States, send money to Cuba, and Trump stopped that from happening. Biden's new thing calls for increasing support for Cuban entrepreneurs and allowing flights to other airports in Cuba besides Havana, as well as reinstatement of people-to-people travel. I got to travel to Cuba a couple of times. It's really quite an exciting and interesting place. Definitely a lot of challenges, but a lot of good goes on there too. And many of you know that we reported that the Israeli Defense Forces had killed Shireen Abu Akleh, a reporter for Al Jazeera. And it's been reported that by the Palestinian Authority, but it's going to other world judicial bodies, that the Israeli forces deliberately killed her. She was shot in the back, and there were no active Palestinian fighters anywhere in that region. So, you know, over the years, Israel has gotten a lot of support from the US, but Israel has a lot of policies in relation to their neighbors that are very negative. And let's hope that we'll see some progress on that front. Here in Chicago, COVID is up. Hospitalization is up. Our alderman in the 49th Ward, Maria Hadd, reported this morning, that would be Friday, the 27th, that they're starting to recommend that people wear masks indoors and get tested. And I do think that it's really important. I mean, you know, we're all lax. I've been around the country a little bit, and I've seen people being very lax. It's time to wear your mask, particularly when you go indoors. And you can get masks, you can get tests, you can do it. You can take a step to make this happen. It has not gone away. Okay, let's see. Do I have anything more? I think that's good enough for our little banter at the start of the show. You are listening to the Live from the Heartland show. We're brought to you on WLUW, and then it's put up on a number of other places. We have some interesting guests, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back with more Live from the Heartland. You know, one of the things we like to do here is give voice to the people who are involved in serving the people rather than the rich and the famous. And I'm glad that our friend Michael Harrington, who is the co-chair of Network 49 here in the 49th Ward, is coming on to talk with us now. Good morning to you, Michael.
Good morning, Michael. Good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you, other than at a Network 49 meeting. But we want to talk a little bit about guns and police accountability and what's going on here in Chicago. Given the mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas, the controversy over mass shootings and gun control is ongoing. People in Chicago are really concerned about public safety. So how about sharing with us, with our whole audience, how does police accountability relate to that? And what work are you and Network 49 doing around this issue? Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Thank you. I think everybody is concerned about public safety. And the component of what the police do in that regard is of very serious concern. You know, we have to think about and understand and know the fact, first of all, that in Chicago, 40%, over 40% of our city revenues are devoted to the police department. So that's nearly half of our city budget goes to police who are to serve and protect. That means we, as residents of the city, whether you're a renter, whether you own property, a homeowner, a condo, all of us, our sales taxes and et cetera, have a stake in the policing we pay for. I always encourage people to think about, there's one of two reasons that could get you really motivated to care about it. You care about professional policing that is constitutional, that isn't harming people, that is not killing people and ain't killing and hurting people and families. There's a moral reason to care about what kind of policing we have in Chicago. There's also could be for those who aren't swayed by, they're concerned about getting the criminals. There's a financial reason for some people to care about it too. The city of Chicago spends millions of dollars every month paying settlements for people who are unjustly harmed by policing in Chicago. The cost of policing relates to the issue of what could that money be spent on to create better public safety. It's all about making sure that we create safe communities with better housing, with income and jobs that afford people a decent living, with recreational and educational activities for youth and adults. All of that, you know, multi-billion dollars we spend every year in policing really could help create a more better and more safe community, improve public safety by dealing with the fundamental factors of crime. Network 49 has been paying attention to this issue for a while, and I represent our Public Community Safety Committee, is focused on several different activities regarding improving public safety in relation to improving police professionalism. One of the things I think is real important for all of us to know about this coming up, it's a new thing that's happening in Chicago, and on the ballot this February, the city elections, we're going to have the opportunity to elect a local police district oversight council for all across the city. Every community is covered by a local police district. And the local district council here at Rogers Park with the 24th Police District, we have the opportunity to elect 3 people to serve on the local council, working with improving communications between police and community residents, telling police what we expect from local police and public safety work in this community. These members elected to this new district council will contribute and advise a new citywide commission that is tackling the issue of policing, professionalism, and policy and improvement. That citywide commission also is going to be involved in evaluating the work of the police superintendent, COPA, which is the investigating agency, and the police board, which reviews charges against officers and determines whether they need to be fired or disciplined. This is a new structure in the city of Chicago and the nation, which really has citizens involved in forcing the agenda, forcing the issue of police accountability. So people will be running for election to serve in our local district council starting this fall. It'll be candidates running, just as we have candidates running for alderman, candidates running for mayor. All of these people will be on the ballot in February. And so right now, Network 49 is doing work to inform our community about this new process and even interest people in knowing, number one, that there will be district council, police district council candidates on the ballot, but also before that, helping recruit people to be interested in running to be on the local district council. We have mostly good relations with, according to all the information I have, with our local police district. The leadership cares about working with the community, and we want to make sure the community is working with the police and making sure that when there are problems, residents are recognized and respected to stand up and be heard. People that want to find out more about how to get involved in police oversight work and accountability work can contact us through our website, www.network49.net. I encourage people to go there to learn about the organization. Join, we're a membership-based organization, and there are hundreds of people that are members or follow us and interested in the work we do. We've been around for about 7, 8 years.
Mike, let me ask you a little bit about, tell people what the consent decree was all about, because I think that this new, electing this new committee on a ward by ward basis, doesn't that come out of our response to a consent decree that wasn't really followed as well by the police as it was supposed to be? I could be wrong.
No, there's many different moving parts of that. True. Yeah. About 4 years or 5 years when Laquan McDonald was killed in Chicago, the federal government Justice Department went to court and got a federal judge to take over oversight of the Chicago Police Department. It's called the consent decree, and there are hundreds of recommendations that the federal court has urged the police department to adopt to improve its communications, to improve its professionalism, to stop what was deemed to be racially motivated racist policing practices and policies in the Chicago Police Department. Network 49 is a member of the coalition that helped bring that federal lawsuit to fore. We're spending time monitoring on a regular basis what the Chicago Police is doing. We've even got a team going to the police academy to examine what kind of training is or is not being done to make sure that police officers are toeing the line on community respect and relationships and constitutional policing. The new district councils actually were created by the Chicago City Council. However, it certainly relates to the need, and it understands the need for better police accountability. The district council process and the citywide commission were created last July. It's called the Empowering Communities for Public Safety Ordinance. And we're involved in monitoring that. And again, as I said, supporting the new citywide commission that's going to be appointed hopefully by the mayor this month, and then supporting the election of local residents to serve on district councils around the city.
Well, Mike, after Laquan McDonald, there have been more incidences of the police shooting people. And I just wonder, how far do you think we've come? I mean, since the Laquan McDonald shooting, there's been a lot of activity as you're reporting on and some steps going forward. What hasn't been done that ought to be done? Where are we at on all of this?
Well, we haven't gone far enough. Obviously, Chicago Police Department, for number one, has not gone far enough. The federal court monitor has already criticized seriously the police department on its failures in listening to and following up on what residents of this city want. The police department, just for example, still fails in issues of use of force. Last week, a 13-year-old kid was shot in the back by police. He was a passenger in a stolen car. The police stopped the stolen car. This kid got out of the passenger seat and started running. For some reasons, cops pulled their guns and chased him as he was running and shot him in the back. Now, there is no punishment on the books for stealing a car that calls for imminent death. This kid's now in critical condition in a hospital. The police department is over a year late in improving their foot pursuit policies, which the mayor said was going to be improved over a year ago, and they weren't. There's many areas in police professionalism that aren't happening. And it takes all of us, our voices, to demand more and better in what kind of work the police do in serving and protecting.
This is just some serious stuff.
Yeah.
You did talk about a good relationship with the police in our ward, we're in the 20th district, I believe.
It's the 24th Police District.
24th, and I should have known that.
That's right.
And we've had pretty good relations with officers in our district. But my understanding is along the way, while we've been working on some of these improvements, you and some other people, say from Network 49, have gone to citywide meetings and participated. And it hasn't always gone probably as smoothly and in the right direction as we would like. Do you want to share some of that?
The institution is decades old of policing where might makes right. And that's part of the problem we have in America. Might makes right, rather than looking at data and facts and constitutional rights and just humaneness. The police department is a long way to go to improving the culture where you get a badge and a gun and think you have the right to do anything else. We still need serious work on police discipline, police training, police recruitment, and also support for officers. Most of those officers are there to do the right thing. They need support, they need help, they need encouragement, they need monitoring also, they need supervision. And the need for citizens to be involved in that, we pay for it. Remember, we pay 40% of city revenues. All of our taxes contribute to it. In fact, the police department are our employees, and we have a right to be involved in making the decisions that serve our communities best. And that's what we're doing, Network 49.
Michael Harrington, a lot of people have already seen Beto O'Rourke challenging Abbott on lack of action in Texas. And Beto, who was not so long ago a guest on our show, he's running for governor of Texas. He proposed support for background checks, no sale of assault rifles, etc. What is your view on what needs to happen nationally as well as locally to prevent the kind of gun violence that we see, not only on a smaller level, like one or two people, but on these mass shootings? Do you have any kind of an overview on what to call for?
Whether it's, the solutions, the immediate solutions people have been calling for, banning military-style assault weapons, closing gun sale loopholes. Illinois is surrounded by states with much more liberal gun ownership and purchasing ability than we have. Illinois has strong laws against it, but we're surrounded by everybody else where you can buy guns. The issue I think voters need to remember is, it's not the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I think there's been so much of propaganda about that for decades that it's an issue about your personal rights. No, the legislators in Congress and in our state legislators have frankly been bought off. They've been paid by the NRA, by the gun manufacturing industry, and people who support that. The campaign donations that go to these legislators that have been basically bribed them not to take action. I think we need to pay attention to where the money is in the opposition to getting legislation. Now, the polls say most residents of America want stricter controls. However, our legislators are the ones we're expecting to write laws to bring those controls, and they're not doing it. We need to hold them accountable for the campaign donations and political donations they get that persuade them not to take action. We need to pay attention to the money.
You made mention of the National Rifle Association, and I had wanted to mention in the opening remarks that the NRA is having their convention right now, I believe in Dallas. And while Governor Abbott was supposed to speak, he is now going to do it through the video. But Trump is supposed to show up, Cruz is supposed to show up, and you know who else was supposed to show up? Don McLean, the American Pie guy, and he pulled out, and that's to his credit. But my question would be, why was he going to be there in the first place?
Right. They're pulling out the entertainers and politicians because there was a horrific mass shooting in Texas this week. They're shamed. They're embarrassed. They don't want to be associated. But basically, every time they support the NRA, every time they remain silent on the need for gun control, they're enabling more mass shootings. They're enabling the distribution of guns in Chicago and other cities around the nation where people have easy, ready access to weapons that do not belong in human hands.
Michael, let me ask you one more thing on a broader sense. Talk about the importance of voting, the midterm coming up, and just, being a good citizen and getting out there and putting out a vote.
Well, I guess my work all of my life has been involved in helping people get involved in decision making that affects their lives. And certainly the electoral process still is very important in America. If we're going to strengthen our democracy, make it work for us, more of us have to show up and vote. Vote in elected officials who represent us and vote out those who don't. And be clear about that. We do have our Illinois primary coming up in June next month. I encourage people to pay attention to that, get involved with Network 49's Politics Committee is already, and we have on our website, we've endorsed a number of candidates that we believe are going to support our needs that'll be on the ballot in June. We're going to be involved in the city municipal election next February, supporting police district council candidates, our own wonderful Alderman Maria Haddon, and looking at and evaluating candidates for mayor. One of the ideas I have coming up for the summer and fall is that we could have a forum. Last time, the last mayoral election, there were 21 people running for mayor. We should have a forum every 2 weeks by Zoom, where we just not making endorsements, but interviewing these people who are going to be running for mayor in the city of Chicago. That's very important. I encourage us to stay active and get involved in that.
Michael Harrington, I want to thank you for coming on live from the Heartland. You've been on this show a few times in your life. You always inspire us, and I'm really honored to be on a steering committee for Network 49 along with you. And can you tell people how they might contact Network 49?
Well, again, they can reach us through our website at www.network49.net. I encourage and would welcome, as co-chairperson of the organization, I'd welcome people to email me too, michaelharrington123@gmail.com. We're a member-involved organization. Everybody is welcome to join, young and old. We have a range of diverse people who care about what's happening in our community and are very involved. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate your involvement.
Well, I'm glad to be there, and I want to let's give a little shout out to Katie Hogan, who is your co-chair of Network 49, and sometimes she comes on the show. And while I'm traveling in a number of weeks, Katie will be back for all you people who are missing her. Okay, brother. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the neighborhood. Keep doing all the good work you do. You do a lot of good in the world.
Peace, brother.
All right. You are listening to the Live from the Heartland show. We originate at WLUW here in Chicago, Loyola University's wonderful station. We're brought to you many different ways. We're going to take a musical break. It's going to be picked, I believe, by Emilio Davis. And we'll be right back with Omar Lopez of the Young Lords Organization filling us in on an event for Cha-Cha Jimenez and the passing of the torch to the new Young Lords. Be right back. This is the Live from the Heartland show for the week of May 28th. And I'm Michael James. I'm your host. And I'm really honored now to bring on an old friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. Back in the old days when Joint Community Union was around and there was a group called the Latin American Defense Organization, I met the Lopez brothers, Obed and Omar. And Omar went on to be very much involved with the Young Lords organization. He's done a lot of work with a group called Calor around AIDS in the Latin community. And we're going to talk a little bit today about the Young Lords and the new Young Lords and an event that's coming up. So good morning to you, comrade brother.
Good morning, Brother Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Are you in your office there?
I am. I know. I'm still working. I'm just like you. I can't stop doing things.
It's hard to stop. Yeah. Well, we got a lot to do. I'm even older than you, and you got a lot more to do than me because you'll be around. Okay. Well, back in the day, we had what we called the Rainbow Coalition, and we've always considered the Rainbow Coalition to be founded by the Black Panther Party, including the Young Lords, the Young Patriots, and Rising Up Angry. In fact, Bobby Seale just tweeted the other day, and someone sent this to me. He says the Rainbow Coalition was a coalition active founded in Chicago, Illinois by Fred Hampton and Bobby Rush of the original Black Panther Party. Included the Young Lords, the Young Patriots, and Rising Up Angry, as well as the Panthers. So that was good to hear, because there is a good movie out called The Original Rainbow Coalition, and it doesn't really include Angry as much as it might, although we are part of the film. It's worth watching, and I recommend it. And I recommend that people really find out more about the Rainbow Coalition, because it was one of a number of attempts in Chicago to bring people from Black, Latino, white, Asian, even Native American communities together. And that work still continues. So how about we start off with you telling us about the Young Lords, how you got involved, what they did.
You got it. Yeah. Since you told me we have 20 minutes, I'll try to hurry up. Well, basically, the Young Lords organization started as a gang in the Lincoln Park area. And it was a group of young people that belonged to families that were displaced from primarily from the area where now we have the Carl Sandburg village, Chicago and Clark all the way down to North Avenue. So those families moved into Lincoln Park, and those were the young people that were trying to find places and safe places for them to live and play. And that's how the Young Lords became an organization, youth organization at the time, called gangs. But some of the leadership was kept going in and out of jail, juvenile correction. One of them was Chacha Jimenez, who was one of the founders and was the leader of the Young Lords. While he was in jail, he read a couple of books that sort of like opened up his eyes to some of the things that were going on in the neighborhood. And when he came out, the last time he was doing time, he was already an adult. He decided that he wanted to turn the Young Lords around and have the organization or the gang be involved in community activities that would be uplifting, to the families that lived in that area. He had a hard time, convincing the other members, but finally he was able to convince the majority. And the Young Lords became a community-based political organization. We got involved in a lot of things, demonstrations. One of the things that Chacha found out and realized through work with other community groups was that urban renewal was being promoted in Lincoln Park at the time by some institutions, such as DePaul University, McCormick Theological Seminary, Augustana Hospital, Children's Memorial. So what we did was we started to go after institutions in the community. And that was one of the first takeovers of buildings in McCormick Theological Seminary. Now it's DePaul University at Halsted and Fullerton. But that was a takeover, and we had, and we did because they were one of the biggest slumlords in Lincoln Park. Nobody knew that the McCormick Theological Seminary had so many buildings that were really bad shape, and those were where the families were living. So we went after them, we took over, and we had a series of demands. Of course, out of all of those demands, I think one that became very well known even up until today is the People's Law Office. McCormick Theological Seminary did give the coalition it was the Poor People's Coalition that took over with the leadership of the Young Lords, gave seed money to open up a legal assistance office. We had a whole group of young lawyers, they were really good. Jeffrey Haas, Skip Andrews, Cunningham, Flint Taylor.
And Dennis Cunningham, who just passed away.
I know,
they're still doing great work. Flint's still all over the John Birch torture cases, and these guys, and Michael Deutsch, they're there. I'm glad you brought them up.
Yes, they from the beginning. We're talking about 50 years ago, but they were the ones that took our cases. They took our cases.
Me too.
Right? So, you know, and I think one of the big ones was the Fred Hampton assassination case. That they the ones that took that. So, but out of the takeover, you know, that came out. You know, we got seed money also to develop a whole housing project that was going to be like from North Avenue all the way to Armitage. Also, that was an area that was primarily Puerto Rican. But of course, City Hall knocked that down. You know, we didn't get, even though we had a very good concept, you know, renderings and everything. So, you know, that was some of the issues that were involved at the community level, also with police brutality. In the process, we came in contact with the Black Panther Party. And the relationship between Fred Hampton and Chacha, you know, grew, and it was a very tight relationship. A lot of things happened, you know, a lot of collaboration with the Panthers. Sometimes the Panthers and the Lords would act as security for marches of the Latin American Defense Organization. You know, when we had the welfare mothers marching against the welfare department. So there was a lot of collaboration. Also, as part of that, you know, the Panthers did some outreach to Uptown. That's where you guys were, and that's where Join was.
Yeah, Join had been there, and then the Patriots came out of Join, and I went off, and I was in Logan Square actually. We started Rising Up Angry. Those were some wonderful times, meeting all these people and getting involved.
Yeah, everybody was into it. It was beautiful times. But then out of that came the Rainbow Coalition, but even during that time, you know, we mirror the structure of the Black Panthers. So they had programs in the community that we also replicated in our community, like the Breakfast for Children, the free health clinic, you know, the daycare center. So we had all those programs, and it was really mirroring what the Black Panthers were doing as survival programs. You know, of course, you know, with time and people that will see the original Rainbow Coalition movie, we'll see that, you know, the FBI and others were very busy at dismantling our organizations.
The Red Squad.
And the Red Squad, the famous Red Squad, you know, they were all over us. So, you know, they were successful in the sense of dismantling the organization. I think, fortunately, a lot of us who were in leadership positions in the different organizations in the Rainbow Coalition, we kept going. You know, we changed our tactics, you know, we changed our approach because we needed to survive. You know, we couldn't continue with the same kind of approach and tactics that we had in the late 60s, but we continued. And I think that I always point out to the fact that of the ministers that we had in our structure, you know, for example, the Minister of Health, Roberto Chavira, went on to become a medical doctor. And he moved to New Mexico, where he put up a free health clinic. He never became rich like other doctors. Never, but he gave a lot of services to people that needed it in the area where he was living. The other one is Tony Baez. He was the Minister of Education. He went to Milwaukee, opened up the Milwaukee chapter of the Young Lords. He got a bachelor's degree in education. He got a master's degree in bilingual education. He got a PhD in education. And now he's an authority on bilingual education, dual language approaches. And he's called, you know, to speak not just nationally here, you know, abroad. So, you know, he was our Minister of Education. One of the people that were in the Ministry of Defense, Sal del Rivero, you know, he became one of the best labor organizers for Local 150, you know, heavy equipment operators. And and myself, you know, I went back to school also. I became a teacher. And for 10 years, I was a teacher. Then I went on to other things. So I ended up now as a executive director of Calor, which is the organization that provides services to to people, primarily Latino and African Americans who are at risk or are impacted by HIV.
Omar, you mentioned how you followed the Black Panthers and were inspired by them, and that was certainly true for all of us. In the Rainbow Coalition, Rising Up Angry, the Young Patriots. Back in the early days, the Panthers were real militant, and they, a lot of gun action. And I remember in the early Rising Up Angries had a gun in a fist on the cover, and then the Panthers moved to the Serve the People programs. Mm-hmm. And the most, well-known of those were all the health clinics. The Panthers had one, the Young Lords had one, the Patriots had one. Rising Up Angry had Fritzie Engelstein, Free People's Health Center.
That's right.
Over there at Wilton and Diversity. The mural's still on the wall at the Church of the Holy Covenant. Yeah, there were, the Panthers were really important, and the Serve the People programs were really, there's, feeding, for lunches, breakfast for children. That became a national program for the government, but it was started by the Black Panther Party.
That's right.
One thing that I'd like you to touch on is the Young Lords also evolved and had a chapter in New York, and the relations were good, not so good sometimes. Those people also did a lot of good work. Do you want to share a little bit on that?
Yeah. Once the Young Lords were established here and then people began to hear about us, a group of young people from New York approached Cha-Cha to see if they could organize a chapter of the Young Lords in New York. One of them was a student that was from Chicago. His name is David Perez. And he's the one that sort of like initiated the move in New York to get the Young Lords going over there. And then they came to Chicago. They met with the Central Committee here with Cha-Cha, and they were given the go-ahead. So they were also pretty effective. They also mirror what the structure that we had and the structure that the Panthers had. The difference between the New York Lords and the Chicago Lords, I think it was in the fact that most of the leadership of the Young Lords in New York were college students.
Right.
The leadership of the Young Lords in Chicago were street. They were street. They were the lumpen here.
Lumpen proletariat.
Yes, yeah. So that was a big difference. The other big difference in terms of the environment is that at the time of the Young Lords in New York, John Lindsay was the mayor over there. John Lindsay was a pretty liberal mayor. Yeah. So that I feel that they were able to maneuver a lot more in New York without the resistance of the power structure. And so they were able to flourish.
Yeah, we had Daley and the Red Squad.
We had Daley here. For example, in New York, they took over a TB testing truck, and, they did real good in testing people for TB. If we had done that here in Chicago, I wouldn't be here talking to you about it, because Daley would have made sure that wouldn't happen. So yeah. we had a big obstacle in the Daley structure. So that was a big difference. The New York Lords also then kept developing ideologically, and they went beyond what the Young Lords, the scope of the Young Lords, and then they went to Puerto Rico to organize. It didn't go very well in Puerto Rico. They came back, but then they became, I think it was called the Puerto Rican Revolutionary Party, something like that. So they gave up the name of the Young Lords and they became something else. And like I said, they were evolving, and that's what happened.
So one of the reasons that I wanted you to come on today is because Cha-Cha is his health is not the best, but he is going to be honored at an event that's going to happen in a park somewhere, I believe, on June 4th. And that is going to be put on by the new Young Lords. And there's going to be a passing of the torch. Correct. Tell us about the new Young Lords, the passing of the torch, and the event honoring Cha-Cha.
Yes, well, one of the things that we have noticed is that there's a growing interest in finding out about the Young Lords everywhere. Even at the grammar school level, yesterday I spoke to a group of students one of the class 6th and 7th graders at Prescott School. They're studying the Young Lords. They have the teachers have a curriculum on it. You know, they develop a curriculum, so it's really nice. Of course, it covers Panthers and the Lords, but yes, there's an interest in the Young Lords. So there was also a group of young people in New York again who wanted to organize as the Young Lords, and they did approach Chacha. They ran the idea by Chacha. He agreed that it was something that should happen, and so he gave him the go ahead. And they called themselves the New Era Young Lords, and now they have chapters in New York, Connecticut, Cleveland, Chicago, and Florida. And they acknowledged the fact that Chacha had a big impact, and that because he is, you know, he's a very delicate health, that we needed to do a tribute to him, you know, acknowledge the impact that he has had in the history of the Puerto Rican community and then the Latino community in general. So what we're going to have is a tribute to Chacha on June 4th. It's a Saturday, June 4th. The activity is going to go like from 12 to 5. You know, but it's going to be like in the 60s. Remember, we used to have those big things, and we have music people, you know, people were playing, people would act, people would be the, you know, poets. But the ceremony of the tribute to Chacha will be like from, I say 3:30 to 5. And in that, we're going to have a series of speakers that we are choosing, you know, very specifically to talk about Chacha and the impact that he had. And, you know, I'm hoping that you're going to be one of them.
I promise I'll be there.
Good. You know, we'll have a representation from the Black Panthers who will be speaking, and other radicals, you know, from the 60s. So that's going to be June 4th at the Little Cubs baseball field in Humboldt Park, which is right at the intersection of Kedzie and Hirsch. So I'm inviting everybody to go. I think it's a worthwhile activity, especially in terms of recognizing the impact that Chacha has had in the entire movement.
Omar Lopez, once again, it's June 4th. It's going to be Humboldt Park at, what's the name of the baseball field?
The Cubs little league baseball field at Kedzie and Hirsch.
Okay, good. And is there an email address or a website that people might look at?
We don't have that, Mike.
Okay, we'll leave that alone. You continue to do great work. I've been really glad that you come into my class every year and talk to my group of students taking the Activists and Activism class since 1960 at DePaul. And we're inviting you back this year. And I will see you on the 4th, Omar.
Perfect.
Thank you, brother.
We're looking forward to it, Mike.
Keep up the great work. You are listening to the Live from the Heartland show. You may be watching it on youtube.com/heartlandmedia/videos. We want to thank all our guests who came on today, both Omar Lopez and Michael Harrington. And we're going to take a short musical break, and we're going to be back with Lynn Orman, who is a producer of this show, takes care of a lot of the music when we have live musicians on. It's really fun now to bring on Lynn Orman, who is, I can't believe how much energy this young woman has. She probably goes to every venue in the city, checks out every band, spreads the word, promotes it, does her own show on WNUR, a sister station at Northwestern. And you look great there, Lynn, in your new hat. I would like you to give us just a couple of highlights of what's going on in the music world around, the Chicago music world.
Okay. Well, I'm all about the roots, right? And that's why I'm wearing a hat.
You're a roots kind of girl.
I'm covering them. Anyway, there's so much going on. And I know next couple of weeks, we're going to focus on the city and what D-Case is doing. But tomorrow night, Michael, if you're available, maybe I'll come and pick you up. Modern Cuban jazz band, Norberto Quiera, at the New Epiphany Center. I know you love Cuban music, and that would be something that you want to see.
So that's going to be on Saturday night, the 28th.
That's
For
correct.
people who are, yeah.
For our listeners all over the world, if you cannot make it to a concert, or if you're out of the country, you can go to their site, Epiphany, EPIPHANY, CHI.com, and you can log in. I think it's a $10 fee or something. And then the other thing they have that is ending this weekend, which is so cool, I can't wait for you to come for a tour. The evolution of Chicago-style graffiti is in what they call the catacombs. It is, the old church that is on 201 South Ashland, where the Black Panthers used to meet.
Yeah, I think that's where we had the memorial for Fred Hampton way back.
I think so, and they have 6 galleries there. It's pretty extraordinary. Your show needs to be there.
We're going to have them on.
Well, yeah, I think next week. Anyway, it goes through tomorrow, the 28th, and it's the graffiti. The biggest influences from Chicago: Trickster, Take Two, Orco, all those guys. It's great. And my Women of the Blues show is moving there upstairs to the sanctuary, which is where they do blues and jazz and really intimate listening space. It's a church, so you can imagine the sound of the music is extraordinary. And the Women of the Blues show opening will be June 8th. And on June 12th, Mary Lane, who I think we did the intro of Traveling Woman, she is being honored. I can't say yet, but she'll be getting a proclamation at Chicago Blues Fest. And then that evening, June the 12th, Sunday night, Windmill and the Rockin' Souls, and we will celebrate the great life of the living legend, Mary Lane. Should I keep going?
One more.
Okay. At City Winery, June 16th and 17th, a tribute to Judy Garland's 100th birthday with Rufus Wainwright, which is going to be pretty extraordinary. One more thing. Artists of the Wall in Rogers Park is coming up, and that is the 29th anniversary, and the theme is World of Tomorrow, and we know Rogers Park is the world. So I hope, come visit me at on Lynn Orman Weiss on my Facebook page, and you will see a lot of different events that are going on.
Lynn, you're the best. I really do appreciate that. And your Women of the Blues exhibit is really wonderful. Their photographs, did you take them all? Or you collected them? You
curated. I have 100 photos of women from photographers all over the world. You can go to womenoftheblues.com and you can see some of the photos. But this year we'll feature all the women that are going to be at Chicago Blues Fest, 22 of them.
Okay, thanks. And I'll be talking to you later because I know you got these guests lined up for the next couple of weeks. We're going to go out in just a moment. I got a couple of things I want to say. One announcement is last week I mentioned there was shooting a film here in Rogers Park. And I said, I'm always interested in that because it's been a while since I had a part. 2 films that I am in, both made by the great Andy Davis, are going to be shown here in Chicago. The Fugitive will be at the Siskel Center on May 30th, and Stony Island will be at the Music Box on June 13th. So if you haven't seen those movies, you can rent them and stuff, but it'd be fun to see them in a crowd. We want to give a big shout out to Steve Kerr, the former Bulls player, the coach of the San Francisco Warriors, the son of a man who was killed by guns. He gave a really emotional talk before the game the other night about the killings in Texas. And he's such a guy, such a great citizen. We want to thank him. He's an inspirational citizen. In memoriam, we're just going to say all the people killed by gun violence. And going out today, I think we'll still go out with Pastor Barrett and the Youth for Christ Choir, because coming up after the show, if you're listening to it on the radio, is Bob Maravich, the Blue-Eyed Soul Child, with Gospel Memories. And it is some great old gospel music. So we encourage you to do good in the world because the world needs all the good that you do. All power to the people. And thank you to Imani Warren over at Loyola, to Emilio Davis, to Katie Hogan, to Lynn Orman, and to all the other people who make this show possible. I'm Michael James, and I'll be back next week.